There is a discipline that doesn't show up on camera, a quiet structure beneath the surface that holds everything steady when the lights come on. And for Craig Melvin, that structure isn't built on urgency or last-minute preparation, but on something far more subtle and enduring: personal rituals that have, over time, become the invisible foundation of his professional clarity. In a world where news moves relentlessly and attention is constantly divided, Craig learned early that focus isn't something you can summon on demand. It's something you cultivate long before the broadcast begins, in the small, consistent choices that shape how you meet each day. And while viewers see a composed anchor delivering complex stories with calm precision, what they don't see are the quiet moments that make that composure possible. The early hours when the day hasn't yet made its demands, when the mind can settle into a rhythm that isn't dictated by headlines, but by intention. For someone who has spent decades in a fast-paced environment, this understanding didn't arrive overnight, but grew gradually, shaped by experience, by moments of overwhelm, and by the realization that without a deliberate way to reset, even the most seasoned professional can begin to feel scattered, disconnected from the very purpose that once felt so clear. It was in these moments of reflection, often shared with Lindsay Charney Heck, that Craig began to refine the rituals that would anchor him, not as rigid routines, but as meaningful practices that brought him back to himself. Whether it was a quiet cup of coffee before the day began, a few minutes of stillness that allowed him to gather his thoughts, or the simple act of stepping away from the noise to reconnect with what truly mattered. And for an audience in their 60s who have lived through years of responsibility, adaptation, and change, this idea carries a familiar truth, because it reflects the wisdom that focus is rarely about doing more, but about doing what matters with greater intention. Lindsay, with her own understanding of the demands of a public career, recognized the importance of these rituals, not as indulgences, but as necessities, encouraging a balance that honored both ambition and well-being. And together they created a rhythm that allowed Craig to bring his best self, not only to his work, but to his life beyond it. Over time, these practices began to shape not just how he prepared for the day, but how he experienced it, creating a sense of steadiness that remained even when the news itself was anything but steady. And that steadiness, subtle as it may seem, became one of his greatest professional assets, allowing him to navigate complex stories with clarity, to listen more deeply, and to respond with a presence that couldn't be rushed or forced. Viewers may not recognize these rituals directly, but they feel their impact in the consistency of his delivery, in the way he holds space for the stories he tells, without becoming overwhelmed by them. And in that sense, his focus is not simply a skill, but a reflection of the care he takes in maintaining it. There is something quietly powerful about this approach, especially for those who understand that the most effective forms of discipline are often the least visible, the ones that don't seek attention but create it, shaping not only what we do, but how we do it. Craig's journey toward this understanding speaks to a broader truth that resonates deeply with those who have spent years balancing competing demands, learning that without a way to return to oneself, it becomes difficult to move forward with purpose, and that the rituals we choose, however small they may seem, can have a profound impact on the quality of our attention and the depth of our engagement. In a profession where distraction is constant and pressure is high, the ability to remain centered is not something that happens by accident. It is the result of intention, repetition, and a willingness to prioritize what truly sustains us. And for Craig Melvin, that willingness has transformed not only his work, but his relationship with it, allowing him to approach each day with a clarity that is both hard-earned and quietly maintained. In the end, his story is not about extraordinary habits or dramatic changes, but about the steady, deliberate choices that create a sense of focus that can withstand even the most demanding environments. And in sharing that example, whether through his presence on screen or the quiet consistency behind it, he offers a reminder that the secret to sharp professional focus is not found in intensity alone, but in the rituals that ground us, the moments we claim for ourselves, and the understanding that true clarity begins long before the world asks anything of us.